So, what happens when you decide to build something with all your might, all your muscle fibers, and you think it's almost like God's remedy to everyone, and then no one shows up, really? I'm going to talk about that season of my business and seriously how it almost took me out. Hey, I'm Toni Seville with Square Footage. It's kind of like your all access paths to the real estate industry. That's what I like to call it. Everything between real and estate. All of that is our square footage that we're going to talk about right here. And so today, I kind of want to jump into an episode for people who have ever chased their dream. And I'm sorry, did you hear that when I said chase? Because, okay, wait, let me pause for a second. Because I'm a little cautious about my lipstick because I just ate a McDonald's apple pie. I'm just so glad that McDonald's brought back the old school fried apple pie. Does anybody remember those? They switched to this baked apple pie literally decades ago. And I stopped eating their apple pies. I really don't. The older I get, I can't really do a lot of fast foods. Yeah, they just don't sit well with me. But anyway, let me get back on track. I tend to get off course. Just travel with me, okay? So I told you last episode how I discovered staging and decided to start it as a business for local real estate agents, builders, and home sellers. Well, I kind of thought I don't know, I thought I had stumbled upon gold. Something that as soon as I announced it, every single real estate agent in the world would say, "Oh my gosh, where have you been on?" That's what I thought. I jumped out and got on social media. Remember, I was telling you in episode 1, went ahead and jumped on social media, despite the voices in the back of my head. And when I did, I just thought, because I'm a visionary, I just assumed that everyone would call me, "Oh, hi, you're a home stager. I need your services. My client needs your services." Well, it didn't happen that way. What I didn't realize was, although I was wanting to be a home stager, I was actually jumping into an arena that for years I have said I am not and I'm not good at, and that's sales. So in radio and television sales, you're going out, you are propositioning local business owners, wanting them and asking them to advertise on the television station or the radio station that you work for. Well, I was never in the sales department for a reason. I'm not a salesperson. I do not like hearing no. As a matter of fact, like, listen, if I believe in something enough to ask you to buy into it, I need you to say yes. I want you to say yes because it's the real deal, Holyfield. That's just my mindset. And when you say no, then I may not like you anymore. But some of my broadcast sales friends, I'm going to shout out a few names by first name only. Brian, Angela, Kelly, Laura. They were amazing. And some of them still are amazing salespeople. That just was never my thing. But becoming a business owner with a service, I walked right into the trap of being a salesperson. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I've ever wanted to do. I don't like setting myself up for a no. Well, I got a lot of no's starting this home staging business. So much so that at one point, coming out of year 2 and entering year 3, I was kind of in that dark, low space thinking, this isn't for me. And let me say this, like, sometimes as women, especially, we can feel as though we are only made for position number 2 or the position of assistant and not number 1 top dog, boss, CEO, entrepreneur. Sometimes society will kind of suppress our dreams and our abilities, things that we know deep down inside we can do. We convince ourselves that we can't. As I've convinced myself in the past that I'm not a salesperson, I can't sell. But it's not true. It's not true. Don't listen to those voices in your head. But anyway, let me get back on track. I was listening to the voices in my head, but I was getting a lot of no's. Some of those voices weren't just voices in my head. They were real potential clients. You know, I can think of several meetings. You know, you have those people that would say, oh yeah, this is great. Absolutely. And, you know, send me your information, and you send the information. I remember a few times, a few potential clients that I sent information to. So listen, so check it out. Take the time, create the proposal, you know, send it out, follow up, and get ghosted. That just does not feel good. And sometimes they would have contacted me. They initiated the request for staging services. And then when I send over everything, take my time, you know, make it look good, make it look impressive. Nothing, you know, or close to nothing. You know, you may get a message back, oh, you know, I missed your message, or, you know, oh, I've been busy. Well, let me just say what you're thinking and what I was thinking. Well, I've been busy too, boo. And so then you start feeling like it's so much deeper than a ghost. It's lack of respect for your time, lack of respect for your services. And that's where, for me, feeling like a salesperson becomes problematic. I would just sometimes rather like a conversation. I had one time I sat with a realtor and talked about what I was doing. And the agent just told me straight up, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. I've never used staging, never had to, and I've made lots of money in real estate. I don't feel like I need it. You know, thanks, but no thanks. Haven't needed it thus far. So I don't feel like I need it now. So, you know, anywhere from being ghosted to being just told straight up, I don't believe in what you're doing. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And coming out of year 2, going into year 3, I was getting a lot of that. Way more no's than yeses. As a matter of fact, let me be all the way transparent. I went 2 to 3 months in peak season. So peak season, we're looking at like coming out of winter through spring, through summer. Those are the peak months. And I'm hearing all my staging friends across the country say, oh my goodness, I'm so busy. I'm doing 10 houses a month. We have 40 homes out. I didn't get a single call from May to the end of July, like the last week of July. Nothing, nada, crickets. And so I started to question myself, question my abilities, even question my credibility. And it put me in a place of doubt, doubting my services, doubting me as a woman, doubting myself as a business owner. So I am a part of a group of stagers from across North America, and it's called the Staging Collective. It is an exclusive membership. Well, one of the founding members, he and I were having a coaching call one day. Shout out to Patrick. So Patrick and I were on the call because I was about to pitch to a builder that was building a new development in Little Rock, and I wanted to stage their model homes. So Patrick and I get on a call, to kind of talk about my pitch, because he is amazing. He's like butter with words, with, pitching and positioning the business verbally. So, and I'm so relational. Like I want to talk and, let's laugh. And so sometimes I feel like, still to this day. And then I really felt like I must be missing the mark because I keep getting all these no's. So I guess I'm being too friendly. I guess I'm saying too much. And, let me get with Patrick, because he'll get right down to it. And we talked through some do's and don'ts. And I got it. I met with the representative for the builder, landed 4 model homes. At that point, the biggest project that I had landed in the business. And I can still feel those jitters in talking to them, but it worked. I got it. And what that did was it kind of solidified my whole existence, my business, my services, my offerings, my dreams, my goals. It put a stamp on it for me. So that was one thing that pulled me out of that dark space and that question over my head. Do I belong here? Do I belong in not only this industry, but the business owner world? So my mom, she's that mother she's a mother hen. And when it comes to, she calls us her chickens, me and my brothers. And she says, my chickens, but when it comes to her chickens, she is all in, and she could sense the doubt, the discouragement, the second guessing, and just all that. And she called me up one day and she was like, it's going to be okay. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready, if I'm cut out for this. And why won't they give me a chance? Well, she reminded me they don't owe you anything. You owe yourself to stick with it. Then she reminded me of what I even said in episode 1. Like, I didn't go looking for this business. I didn't ask for this industry. I didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? I want to be a home stager. And I didn't know. Like it literally fell in my lap from watching television. And I thought, let me research it and I'll go do it. But it was never like this major goal of mine to become. I became what I wanted to become, which was a broadcast professional, a radio personality that had amazing ratings and spoke to the masses. I did that. That was my goal. I'm talking like junior high school. I knew I wanted to be on the radio. Um, Staging, I didn't see that coming for myself at all. So mom had to remind me that God dropped this on me and he wasn't going to let me fail. And so I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. And I dried up my tears. Like I said, I talked to Patrick, and then getting that yes is also what tipped me over into thinking and knowing and feeling that I was on the right track. I invested in myself. I had done it all, from personal development, professional development, inventory. We're going to talk about that in an episode. Some of the things behind home staging that people, I'm not even going to say take for granted. You just don't even know it exists. And you definitely probably don't understand the price tag that comes along with some of it. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Maybe next episode, maybe. But yeah, so I did everything that I needed to do in terms of attending conferences. I told you last episode, I got certified. I followed steps and listened closely. But here's something else that I started doing that I encourage you not to do if you are wanting to start a business, offer a unique service. Listen. Don't get caught in the comparison trap. I have rubbed elbows with, become very close friends with some of the most amazing home stagers in the world. And it's so easy to say, well, if they're doing that, I should be able to do that. So I'll give you an example. I was at my first home staging conference. And one of the questions, they had us all stand, okay? And they said, when we say a particular number, a money amount, a monetary amount, if you have staged a home at that price point or higher, remain standing, okay? So we all had to stand up. Once they said your number that you had not reached, the number that you had not reached, you had to be seated. You following me? So we all stand up. They started at $1,000. So that would mean, have you charged $1,000 to stage a home? So I'm like, heck yeah, I have. So I'm still standing. And so is the whole room. Okay, 2,500. I was like, ooh, they say anything over 26, I'm gonna have to sit down. 2,500, 3,500, boom. I sit down, maybe one or two others sit down. So that now I'm paying attention, right? It's no longer a game. I'm watching the room. 5,000, 10,000, most of them started to have a seat. Started to see about half of the room have a seat. Meaning, at least half of the room had received $9,000 and under for a stage, but they had never charged $10,000 or more. except for the ones that were still standing. They go from 10,000 to 50,000. People are still standing. The last woman standing received $70,000 from an invoice to a client to stage, I believe it was Manhattan, a Manhattan apartment that was listed for, I think she said like 53 million, and she charged 70 some odd thousand to stage the apartment. I thought, wow. Now, I also thought that's never going to happen for me in Central Arkansas. That won't be my ticket. And thinking about when I compare my businesses to other businesses and I was starting to feel like a failure, how do I know what they went through and didn't go through in the beginning? How do you know that? So I think the lesson is, number one, stop comparing yourself and your business move to someone else's simply because you're in the beginning, you're getting started. Well, you're looking at, like Jay-Z said, you're looking at the outcome. You can't compare your beginning to their middle fairly. So stop, right? Another thing I would say is get a coach. Get yourself a coach, somebody in your corner, someone that knows your industry. They don't necessarily have to know you. They need to be willing to get to know you, but they know your industry and they know enough about you to tell you all things that you need to hear and some of what you want to hear. And third, just know that all no's are not the end of your story. It's just part of it. It's just part of what we do. That's one that I have had to really sit with. Toni, the no sometimes was protection. So let me leave you with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. He says, and many of you may be familiar with it, if you cannot fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But no matter what, keep moving forward. Remember that. Hopefully this has helped out a bit. If you know someone that you really need to share this with because they need a little motivation, share it with them. Subscribe, like, comment. I love reading your comments and commenting back. And please stick around. Episode 3 will be up shortly. Until then, Toni Seville, square footage, all things real estate.